Hello, everybody. This is your Torador's Extended Warranty, and starting with a dad joke today, actually. Some of you may recognize this as The Mummy Returns. Good movie. The Earth is 70% water and uncarbonated, okay? So it's technically flat. And then we see it pull out a pistol because it's like, how dare you? But anyways, I'm not sure how I felt about my last scripted video, if I'm being 100% honest. Because I felt like I was a little bit mechanical in how I read it, and I tried to insert actual. I tried to make it more fluid and add my own little spin on things that I said, kind of just things that were off the top of my head to make it just flow better. I had tried to record it 3 separate times, and I didn't get very far on the first and second time because I screwed up my recordings, and I still don't have editing software that I'm happy with. Having said that, today's topic is going to be, well, I had 2 ideas for a topic. The first idea is something that I will potentially cover Friday. Probably leave myself a note to remind myself to actually write or talk about it. I may do scripted videos on Fridays and just do regular yapping sessions on Monday/Tuesday. We'll see how that goes. Because a lot of people just typically go off the cuff. I have a tendency to ramble, admittedly. And I have certain turns of phrase that I use a bit more than I would like to. Having said that, today's topic is actually going to be kind of important because it kind of like plays off of the video that my video that was supposed to be posted Friday that I think I posted Saturday, which is why communism is stupid. But this isn't actually a why communism is stupid video so much as it's a why people don't really understand capitalism and why people who fight against capitalism typically tend to be morons. Zohran Mamdani, as we know, is the mayor of New York City. Recently, he pushed for and managed to actually get through on approval a rent freeze for 1 to 2 year lease renewals on roughly 1 million rent stabilized apartments. Now, I need people to understand that just because you're not happy about your life and the way things are, doesn't mean you're entitled to other people's labor or other people's money. We live in a very entitled society, and it's extremely frustrating having to deal with people who believe that everything is their human rights. It's like, oh, Starbucks is my human rights. Oh, this is my human rights. Oh, that is my human rights. And I want to reach through the screen and strangle these people a lot of the time because, no, you're just entitled. That's the sad reality of all of it. One of the frustrating parts of this is I have to explain to people why rent stabilization and why rent freezes are a bad thing. And everybody's like, well, it sounds good. Yeah, it sounds great until you think more than one step ahead. Because you hear rent freeze and you're like, wow, I don't have to pay more. Yeah. But guess what? If you don't have to pay more, and other people don't have to pay more, that means less money is going into the unit. Property taxes are still going to go up because the socialists cannot fund their lavish lifestyles without you giving them more money so that they can go out partying with other bureaucrats and their friends and their family, and in Mamdani's case, individuals who have actually been, well, very extremist terrorist supporters. Yes, there has been people Mamdani has sat with who have been full scale on support of the absolute ruination of the United States and other awful things. But that's not what this video is about. A lot of you don't seem to get that you are all stupid. And it's not that I'm smart. It's just that you're that dumb. So I'm going to explain it to you, like you're a toddler. Except I actually won't, because I can't dumb myself down to that point. If you are a landlord, and I need you to put yourself in this position for a second, rather than being just some nonce. If you are a landlord, you have to pay property taxes. You have to pay legal fees. You have to pay a number of different bills, both to the state, to the city, and all of these other things. You have to pay people who work for your company. And everybody's like, oh, well, if you're a landlord, that means you're this big, bulky, like corporate. No, most places are not owned by corporations. They are just companies. And a lot of people conflate companies with large-scale corporations that have tens of millions of dollars laying around. When in most cases, most companies don't have tens of million dollars laying around. When you're charging, suppose for a second that we're going to make up a fake place. We're in Tululu. Tululu ambiguous. Tululu is the freaking state, and ambiguous ambiguous is the state, Tululu is the city. We're in Tululu, and the state minimum wage is like, I don't know, $13 an hour, let's just say. And then the state, in its infinite wisdom, is like, no, you're actually going to pay minimum wage as $20 an hour across the board. Okay, so that's a decent hike, you know, a few dollars. Now, you're now having to pay all of that extra money per hour to anyone who is working for you. Now, if you're a landlord and you are a small-scale company, i.e. your own company effectively, and you're hiring people as repairmen and whatnot, you have to hire lawn care workers to make sure that everything is well kept, trees aren't falling on anything, etc. You have to hire pesticide people to make sure bugs aren't getting into apartments, electrical workers. There's a lot of things that you're going to have to pay for. And now, every single one of these people who you have to hire, be they regular people or companies, now have to basically pay all of their workers $20 an hour, which means they have to charge you more. But don't worry, Tululu, can't keep my name straight here. Tululu passed a law, unfortunately, that said you actually can't raise your rent prices. Okay. So you have to consistently lose money on every repair, on every amenity, eventually to a point where you stop even broadcasting any amenities. The laundry rooms are going to fall into disrepair because you literally don't have the extra money to make it up. And then Tululu comes in and says, oh, why aren't you repairing these units? Why aren't you selling all of these, renting out all of these units? Why are some of them broken down and not repaired? And then you go, oh, I don't know, maybe because you made rules and laws that effectively pushed me into a point where I couldn't repair these places. Oh, well, that's too bad, because we made another law saying we're going to literally take these apartments away from you because you're slumlords now. Do you see where I'm getting at? They are literally passing laws, making it so that these individuals don't have to pay more, despite the fact that property taxes are going up, minimum wage is going up, energy costs are going up, things are going up but not the amount of money you're allowed to collect from your tenants, which is stupid. Because effectively what that means is you bring in less money, which means every dollar spent is a dollar technically wasted and burned. And then when tenants move out, normally there's extra work that has to be done. You have to fix anything that they have broken. You have to, if they have carpets in there, you have to bring steam cleaners in to do that. You have to potentially repaint the walls. You have to make sure everything is pristine enough to move somebody in. And that is expensive. And that's assuming that there haven't been changes policy-wise in Talulu, the city, that make you have to, that force you to change a bunch of different things due to every single new regulation. What's that? You're no longer allowed to use propane power whatsoever. Nope, no longer allowed. You're going to put all the propane places out of business because climate change. And so then you have to pay extra money as the landlord to put up solar panels and rely on the grid. Except that's too bad. The grid is overtaxed because they got rid of all of the propane. And they're trying to slowly ban gasoline and oil and natural gas. So the grid can't handle it. So you are struggling to pay for all of these new things that the city has mandated that you now have to do. Do you see where I'm getting at? Rent freezes sound good on paper. They sound good for people, but realistically, they're not good for apartments. They're not good for houses, rental houses. They're not good for clients either, because guess what? The state is literally manipulating their way into the ability to steal real estate from small businesses, small companies, mom and pop people, and otherwise. This is not a function of capitalism going wrong. This is not a function of people being landlords being greedy overlords who are stealing from people. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of you don't know what actually goes into being a landlord. In a lot of different cases, it is actually significantly better to rent than it is to own, because property taxes in most states always goes up. Because even when you own a place, that price on your property is probably going to rise. I wish I had a graph that I had made prior to this, but I just wanted to get this whole entire thing out. But everybody's like, oh, rent freeze is so great. Except Mamdani is driving exceedingly rich people out of the city, and the governor is driving people out of the state, which means all of the extra money that would be used to help pay for anything regarding all of that stuff is also leaving the state. And everybody's like, all of the millionaires and billionaires, they're the problem. They should give us all their money. Oh, so you think other people's stuff belongs to you? Is that what you think? You entitled little shits. When you own a house, fun fact about owning a house. 1, you pay for property taxes. 2, if you have a mortgage, you pay for that too. 3, you pay for the electricity. You have to pay for the trash separately, oftentimes. If there's an HOA, and there is a lot of HOAs out there where most people don't want to live around HOAs or be in them, guess what? You're paying your HOA dues. Because some places have a mandatory you have to pay for an HOA if you move into X neighborhoods. You have to pay for lawn care or pay for the tools to do your own lawn. If anything breaks water-wise, electricity-wise, AC-wise, guess what? That is your dime, you're fixing it. Every single house problem is a problem that you immediately have to cover on your own. And you would think that you'd have more money free to do that stuff with if you weren't renting, but that's not always necessarily true. So, realistically, it's just frustrating. Because a lot of people don't understand how much money goes into actually maintaining a home, maintaining a property, etc. And this is honestly no different from a landlord. You are your own landlord whenever you own a home. You pay for literally all the repairs, and most of you are not even competent enough to change a tire on a flat tire on a car. It's frustrating, but it's the actual reality. And I know I'm going to get a lot of people going, oh, well, I would love to own a house. It's like, yeah, you say that until you actually have to deal with all of the issues that comes with owning one. At least if you're renting, generally speaking, you're not going to be paying excess money. You're going to be paying significantly less, if anything, for repairs, for like any additional fees, because the landlord takes on additional fees like property taxes, etc. You might have to pay a little bit more, but that's all it is. You're just paying a little bit more. But you have to consider everything that's going on around you and stop being a first order thinker. If prices are going up on literally everything, but you're not having to pay more, that money has to come from somewhere. Because if it's not coming from somewhere, that means it ceases to exist. With rent freezes, which are effectively telling property owners is that they have to take losses consecutively. They have to take losses. And if they continue to take losses, which means that they can't afford the typical upkeep, the repairs, the renovations for adding new features, new amenities, etc., making the apartments nicer or more accessible, Tululu has effectively said, you're going to fork it over to us. Now to stop using fake names of states and cities. New York City, with Mayor Mamdani, has pushed and had accepted by the City Council, I believe, or the New York City Rent Guidelines Board, a rent freeze, 0% rent increase, full freeze for both 1 and 2 year lease renewals on roughly 1 million rent stabilized apartments. So they are no longer stabilized, they are frozen. Which means that every single price that has gone up in the city, the price on hardware, the price on tools, the price on parts, the increases that it's going to trickle down to those things based on the increases of minimum wage that Zoran has brought about. And then he's going to use that as a way to steal legally, even though the practice I'm pretty sure is functionally illegal, apartments from people. This is the modern Democrat Party. This is the modern steps that are taken to turn our country into a socialist country. And if you think things are going to be great when you hand over power to the state, ask people from North Korea how they feel living their lives the way they do, scrounging for rats and rabbits, trying to feed themselves. And you're like, oh, well, that'll never happen in America. Do you think North Korea was always the way it is now? Cuba is a wasteland in comparison to what it used to be. But they keep some areas extremely well fixed up. Do you know how? Because the party in power is filthy rich. Everyone else that's not a part of the party is poor. And so whenever they bring people into their country, other communists specifically, they show them only the single best parts. They actually incentivize individuals to go out and treat them well and to make it look like the country is thriving, surviving, and super great. because they have a lie to sell you. It's literally all propaganda, because there are a lot of people in Florida who freaking Hassan Piker calls, oh, the American Cubans, or the Cuban Americans who, they've been Americanized, they've been propagandized, they left paradise, escaped paradise, and they just listened to all the American propaganda. No, it's not American propaganda. Your state is ruled by a tyrant who is filthy rich, whose military and private security have a lot of freaking money. They are the only technical corporation in the entire country. And any time aid is sent over there, it is all handled by said corporation, which means it doesn't functionally get to the people, and if it does, it's at extremely marked up rates, which means even in cases where you have money, it's effectively worthless. I don't know how to make people understand this. Your bids for socialism are going to make the country crumble. And if you think that that's a good thing, I need you to go to North Korea, forfeit your citizenship, and live there instead. And then if you manage to live and escape, tell me how it was after staying there for a month. I bet you wouldn't survive 3 days. None of you would survive in that area of the world, and it is transparently clear to anyone with a brainstem that you are entitled, uneducated, and broadly speaking, incredibly stupid. This has been your Toreador's Extended Warranty. I'm not going to make this video super long, but if you think policies like this, the give a man a fish policies, actually are a good thing, you're economically illiterate and you're probably a moron. Anyways, until next time.